Next, we'll check out the ankle component of single leg stance. The very first part of the breakout is heel walking. So I lift my toes up in the air and I take 10 steps forward, making sure that they can keep their toes off the ground. If it's functional, non-painful, you move on to the next part of the breakout. If it's dysfunctional, you need to get the patient prone and check passive dorsiflexion with the knee flexed. Here you're looking for 20 to 30 degrees of dorsiflexion. If it's functional, then you know there's a stability motor control deficit. If it's dysfunctional, you know there's a mobility deficit. Okay? Regardless of the outcome, you're going to move on to the next step in the breakout, which would be toe walks. So I go up on my toes, I take 10 steps forward, making sure I can keep my heels up off the ground and no bouncing. So none of that. No drops. Okay? If that is functional, move on to the next part of the breakout. If it's dysfunctional, get them prone and check passive dorsiflexion, or plantar flexion, excuse me, looking for 40 to 50 degrees of motion. If it's functional, you know there's some sort of stability motor control deficit. If it's dysfunctional, some sort of mobility deficit that needs to be addressed. Okay? Again, regardless of what happens here, you move on to the next part of the test. And with that, it's ankle inversion, eversion, and so you just have them invert, evert the foot in sitting 10 times each way. Okay? If they can do that, and you haven't had any issues previously with dorsiflexion or plantar flexion, then there's likely some sort of proprioceptive deficit that needs to be addressed. Okay? If that movement is dysfunctional actively, we check the ability to invert and evert the foot passively. Okay? Now, if I have some sort of active limitation, but my passive is functional and non-painful, we know stability motor control deficit is present. If there is some sort of limitation there, in terms of mobility as well, we know it's a tissue extensibility or joint restriction.